Okay, Ransom. So I actually did some research for this novel. Most of it meant that I just went home to Calcutta and ate my mom's cooking. But I also found out like a pretty odd factoid which shocked me, which was that there are 11 million children who work as servants and laborers within the country. 11 million. As far as I know, there's only one real book that's been written about this, and you guys have probably seen the movie, Slumdog Millionaire, yeah? So I thought, 11 million kids, one book, there's probably space for one more, so this is what this is. Raju had just finished a sale when he heard the metallic sounds of pots and pans tumbling to the ground. Unlocking the cash drawer and counting out the change, Raju felt his hands tremble. Bholu, he thought to himself, what have you done now? Raju quickly handed the customer his newspaper-wrapped clothes and moved to the doorway of the store. Across the street, the cookware shop was in complete disarray. Bholu, who had climbed onto the counter to retrieve an especially large pot, had accidentally knocked over a set of glass tumblers from the corner. In his dismay and confusion, the boy had then unhooked a whole set of pots that was strung onto the ceiling, causing about half a dozen metal karais to crash to the floor, where they lay, dented beyond repair. Among the chaos of broken glass and ruined cookware sat Bholu, stunned at the destruction he had brought about. As Raju looked at the havoc, his heart hammered with pity and dread. He knew exactly what was about to happen. In fact, as he watched, frozen with a sense of inevitability, Raju saw Bholu's boss step out from the back of the store, his face contorted with rage. Raju covered his eyes. He really could not watch this again. Bholu was too little. The increasing frequency and intensity of the beatings was becoming unbearable. As Raju's hands rose to his face, he saw from the corner of his eye a window open in the neighboring building and a familiar face peer out from behind the filigreed railings. Raju's hands remained on his cheeks. Anilda. Anilda was home. In the cookware store, Bholu's boss came up behind Bholu and caught the boy by his neck. With his free hand, he slapped Bholu with such force that the little boy fell from the counter onto the broken glass. The passers-by stopped in shock, and Raju's own boss came out of the store and shook his head in disapproval. Down the street, Harish, another little servant of Preschool Street, began to cry silently, tears running down his face. But no one said a word. Bholu lifted himself off the floor, his legs bleeding where the glass had pierced him. I did not do it on purpose, Babu, he said, sobbing. It was an accident, I swear. Raju saw Anilda's face at the window. Even from the distance, Raju could see his jaw drop and his hands like Raju's rise to his eyes. For a moment, Raju felt emptiness in his belly. So even Anilda would just watch, like his Babu, like Raju himself, just like everyone else. No one would help Bholu. Again, the boss slapped the child, this time on the back so that Bholu fell back onto the glass, face down onto the crushed tumblers. He lay there unmoving, his head sunk into the ground, his arms and legs bleeding. He was sobbing quietly. Raju could not bear it anymore. Babu, kichu karo, he said to his boss. Do something, please. Perhaps the Babu had been waiting for just such a request, for he stepped forward, as if to intervene. But he was too late. Raju heard more than saw Anil's door fling open, and Anil dash out of the building. He was shoeless, as if he had not wanted to waste even a minute to slip on his flip-flops. He raced up to where Bholu lay and in one fluid, graceful motion caught hold of the boy and picked him up in his arms and held him there, clutching the tiny, trembling Bholu to his chest. For a moment, the whole street was silent, frozen with disbelief. Bholu's boss had been regularly beating the little boy for about a year now, and no one had ever interfered. Now this stranger, this wealthy, educated American, had swooped into the fray and placed himself right in the middle of it. Raju held his breath. What would happen now? Bholu's boss spoke. "Chile charun," he said. "Give me the boy." His eyes were hot with anger. Anilda's voice was icy. "First, show me the license for your shop," he said, "and then we'll talk of the boy." The whole street caught his breath. Raju, petrified, saw Harish looking at him, stunned. The babu next to Raju sat down on the pavement, frowning. Even Raju knew that none of the shops on Free School Street had licenses to operate. Every single one of them was illegally constructed, borrowing electricity from the flats upstairs, bribing the cops every month to stay in business. Everyone knew this, but no one had ever done a thing. No one had ever asked for a license. "I'm a journalist," Anilda continued, his voice so measured and cool that hearing him, no one would guess that he was standing barefooted before a crowd of people with a shaking boy clutched to his chest. Hearing him, one would believe he was wearing a suit and talking in an air-conditioned office, reasonably stating his purpose. "I write for a newspaper in the US, and today I believe I should write a story about all the stores that illegally operate in the center of Calcutta, stealing electricity from the nearby homes, using up the water supply, disposing trash all over the sidewalks. I think I should start with you. What's the name of your shop? Where's your license to remain in business? Where are your last year's tax papers? Let's have a look at these things. Then we'll talk of the boy." All the other store owners had now gathered around Anil, their faces etched with worry as they stared at the obviously well-to-do foreigner with his clean hair and soft hands. Raju could almost hear them thinking about the air-conditioned car in which Anil had come to look at the rental. But the diamond-wearing woman who had accompanied him, dressed in a sari that smelled of cold air and perfume. Raju turned to meet Harish's eyes and smiled. "There has been a mistake," Bholu's boss said, not meeting Anil's eyes. "It will not happen again. The boy will have no more accidents. It has been a mistake." Raju could see Anil shaking with rage. His arms, still clutching Bholu, were trembling with emotion. His face was flushed. Yes, his voice, when he spoke, was even. "One more time his child falls down, or hurts his head, or bruises his arms, I will write a story about each of your stores. I have pictures of each of your shops, of your little employees, of the names and addresses of each of you. One more time this child is beaten, all your stores will go out of business." Ananda looked directly into the eyes of Raju's boss, at Harish's boss, at Bholu's boss, at the vegetable seller, and at the shoe store owner. No one met his eyes. "You guys heard me?" Anilda spoke pleasantly, as if he was asking a question about the weather. "There's been a mistake," Bholu's boss said, all the brashness gone from his voice. "It will not happen again." Anilda nodded, and still clutching Bholu, who was clinging to him, arms and legs wrapped around his savior's body like a monkey to his mother, Anilda went back to his apartment, dignified despite his unshod state. Still standing on Free School Street, Raju and Harish looked at each other, and together they did a secret dance of glee.